Hello, everybody. Welcome to the series of coaching made by coaches who make coaching great again. It's not how the series is called, but I'm here today joined by Deryl Sweeney, who I consider a very nice human being. And on top of that, he's an amazing coach. He works with leaders and executives, and he also works with a small portion of coaches, helping them actually get their foot going in the coaching industry. And the intention of the video today, as all the other videos that we share on the channel, is to make the knowledge that coaches have who are actually creating clients, who actually have the business working, to share their knowledge with you. So we're not going around and trying to figure it out all by ourselves, but there's actually material that has proven to work for us or for the coaches that we interview. And Deryl Sweeney is a person that I highly value his opinions and also his experience. You and I, we work with Ankush Jain, who is helping many coaches in the industry to create a profitable business through service and in ethical ways without the, I would say, like the manipulation that we sometimes see in the marketing world. That's my introduction to you, Deryl. Anything that you can share on top of that, like who you are? I know we see some pictures in the background, so maybe a few words to your person.
Yeah, no, I love you pulling those in right from the start because, I mean, that's my world, right? I am a deeply committed husband and father. So I've got two boys. These pictures they keep growing despite me trying to get them to stop. But they're now 6 and 8 years old. So I love being a dad. I've been married 11 years, just celebrated 11 years. And as you can probably tell by my accent, I know you have people watching your channels from all over the world, but I'm based in the United States.
Nice. And for the sake of the shortness of the videos, I'm just gonna jump right in and bombard you with questions because that's
Bring it. Let's do it.
what I feel so far has been most useful. Daryl, when did you start coaching and how did you start?
That's a great question. So I launched this business almost exactly 3 years ago. A longtime entrepreneur. I've had a number of businesses and a number of different verticals, but coaching, I started hiring coaches. I started being around coaching. I spent time with people and served people before I would have called it coaching, but people would bring things going on in their world, in their business to me, and I would create time to have conversations. And they kept saying, you should be a coach. You should be a coach. You should be a coach. Like a lot of us, I found a certification. I found a school to explore this deeper. And I launched this business actually before I finished getting my certification. I launched it kind of right in the middle of it, thinking that it would slowly grow, but really quickly the business grew. I also owned a marketing company at the time. I set that aside, moved into coaching full time, and here we are 3 years later.
And when you said like it started moving very quickly, like what were your beginnings and how did you get in contact with people? Like how did you actually create clients, so to say?
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes out there is ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are made for. And I bring that quote in as we start because I had to figure out how to pull my ship out of the harbor. And it's one of the things that I see a lot of coaches get stuck around. You know, I found myself looking to build the perfect website. I found myself looking to find the perfect copy to describe who I am as a coach and what I offer. I found myself thinking about fonts and branding and color. I found myself doing all of these things except getting out there. And this will come as no surprise. I hired a coach to help me get out there. And on our very first call, he said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And this is just straight out of my playbook. Like, here's what we're going to do. I want you to go through and make a list of friends and family. And this was a group program I was in. Go through, make a list of friends and family so that we can let them know that you're coaching, that you've launched this coaching business. In my mind, it wasn't launched at the time. So this became the official launch. Now, I remember in the group, there were 3 of us total. So Jeff, who's coaching us, and then 3 other coaches. And we all brought back our list. And they had anywhere from 15 to 30 or 40 people on it. My list had 239 people on it. I literally went through everybody I was connected to on Facebook, everybody I was connected to on LinkedIn. I went through like a year's worth of old emails from any of my accounts, personal or business. Like who had I been emailing? Who had I been talking to? I went through everybody in my phone. And my criteria to, if you got on this list, what became my email list was, if I didn't think you'd get upset that I emailed you to let you know I was coaching, you made the list. All right. So I didn't worry too much about people I thought would hire me as a coach or anything like that. It was just, I wanted to let people know. So I built this list of 239 people. I put together an email. At the time, most people knew me as the owner of a marketing business, a marketing expert. Said, hey, I'm taking all of my experiences, all the things I've learned, and I'm pouring it into coaching. And this is why, this is what I'm all about. This is what I'm up to. And at the end of the email, said, you're on this list because you're somebody that's important to me. And I wanted to invite you into my journey. If you're not interested in following that journey, simply unsubscribe. I've made it really easy. There's a button at the bottom. Otherwise, you're going to get regular emails from me as I share things that I think would be valuable to people like you or people in your network. And of course, if you're interested in having a conversation or know somebody who would be, please let me know. I would love to have that conversation. So I fired that email off to 239 people. And the business was officially launched.
So what happened after that? And by the way, like, I love the detail in that explanation. Did you simply share what you did? Right. Sometimes find that be missing in the advice that we get. It's like, here's the 3-step program, but not what somebody really did. So I love that.
Yeah. What happened next was it created conversations. I'll tell you, my very first client, I created by accident. Somebody that was on that list, a friend of mine that I'd known for years and years and years. We actually played soccer. I know some of you guys like to call it football, but we played soccer when we were kids. He was on that list. He was a financial advisor, and he reached out to me and just said, "Hey man, we haven't talked in a while. Seems like you're up to some interesting stuff in the world. Would love to catch up." We jumped on a call. I'm just sharing what I've been up to, not trying to make him a client, not thinking, literally, it didn't even cross my mind that he could potentially be a client. I'm just sharing what I'm up to. I'm sharing what I'm passionate about. I'm sharing what I've learned and what I'm excited to bring to people and organizations. And at the end of that explanation, he said, "Hey, do you think you can help me?" And I stumbled and I fumbled because it just caught me so off guard, right? It felt like this idea of creating clients was somewhere out there still. And that opportunity showed up and I fumbled my way through it. And it's funny now that I'm recalling this story because 3 years later, I'm not only still coaching him, but I'm coaching 5 people on his team as well. So that's how I created my first client. So what happened from that email is the same thing that I'm doing today to create clients, to grow this business. And that is simply create conversations. That email, me letting people know what I'm up to, created some conversations that I was able to have. And as I just shared, one of those conversations, before I even knew what I was doing with it, or before I had a process nailed down, created my first client.
It's so powerful. Like, people share this word like being out there, but you actually describe what that means for you in like literally letting just everyone in your network that you thought was open know what you did. And you didn't say like, "Hey, buy my coaching service. I just started this business and it's going to be really great for you." But you simply shared where you are, what you're up to, and made a nice invitation. If they wanted to explore more or hear more about it, they can, and they don't have to. So I'm going to ask you a different question. Like, what were some of the most stupidest mistakes, quote unquote, that you found yourself making now with the knowledge that you have in trying to grow the business, set the business up, create new clients possibly?
That's a great question. I don't know that I would call anything I did a mistake because it's just part of the journey. But there are some things that I can see now. Like, I can see some of the things that slowed me down. And more than anything, and I know you talk a lot about this and what you share and what you talk about and how you work with clients, but the place I was coming from really impacted and drove my actions, drove how I was showing up. I assumed some things to be true that just aren't, at least not for me. And one of the big assumptions I made early on was, as a coach, that means I have to be the expert. That means I have to have it all together. That means that I have to have all the answers, that there's nothing left for me to figure out. And so I started talking from that place, right? I started, creating videos and writing posts, creating content that from this place of expertise, right? Like, I know what you need. I know how to make your thing better, how to create your business, how to be a better leader. And I started kind of writing from this place of expertise and sharing from that place. And what you mentioned Ankush earlier, one of the things that he says often, and I think it may come from Steve Hart, it does come from Steve Hardison, is false humility is the height of arrogance, right? I was projecting myself as this coach who had it all together, who knew all these things, and therefore believing that you should hire me and pay me money because of all that I know and all that I can do. And what I've learned along the way, it's funny, if you go and you read some of the stuff I share now, it doesn't come from that place anymore. In fact, most of what I share comes from, hey, this is what I'm learning. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm understanding at a deeper level. This is what I'm struggling with. So I'm now I just share my experience, much like this video. And I'm not here to say, hey, do it like I did it, or this is the right way, or this is the only way, but this is a glimpse into my journey and my story. And I love that you're making this available for people so that they can take what serves them. right? There's no right or wrong way. That's why I don't call them mistakes. But letting go of I have to be the expert really shifted the way I was showing up in all the spaces in a really positive way. And I think suddenly people were able to relate to my journey. And it became more fun for me. Right? It almost took the pressure off. I was able to just share what I'm learning. Hey, this is what I'm up to. This is who I met. This is where I'm struggling. This is what I'm trying to figure out. This is what I see differently today than I did yesterday. And people started resonating with that at a deeper level. So, if I could go back, I would have come from that place sooner than I did.
So I find that interesting coming from you because you work in this space of leadership coaching and coaching executives where it can seem like it's a world of knowing, right? It's people high up the ladder that are supposed to know what other people should be doing and supposed to kind of have some expertise that gets them there. Right. So how do you navigate in that space with coming from that place of not having to be the expert? Is it, you said you write about it, but how do you get to know people in that space and how are you impacting them from that space?
Yeah, there's an awesome quote that I think a fellow coach shared. I don't think it's his quote, but it says, knowing is the enemy of learning. Right. And I just really see that. When you talk about how do I kind of operate in this executive space, this leadership space, where in a lot of ways it is about knowing. Morris, I'll be honest, I don't think about it, right? Because I'm just me, right? So I spent so much time trying to create the character that is Deryl, the good coach, Deryl that knows all this stuff. And now I just don't play that game. And there are some amazing thought leaders, many of whom I have paid money to get access to what they know, right? I bought their books, I've watched their videos, I've bought their courses, and it's been really, really helpful. And I think there are things that I know, but it's not about that. It's just me sharing what I have, right? And some of it people may point to, look, I know how to create clients. I help other coaches do it. I've been successful doing it. Right. There's some things that I know, but like you, I've just enrolled in a school that is all about learning how to create clients, right? Because there's so much that I don't know along with that knowing. So I never want to show up from this place, I know nothing, because that's not true. But I always am open to just how much I don't know. So whatever I have, whatever I am, I make available. I share, I serve from that place. And I don't get caught up in trying to navigate, let me show you how much I know. I'd rather just simply come from a place of let me share freely. There's a line in my document that I recite every day that says, I give freely to myself and to others. So what's mine is yours. And I come from that place. And I let other people be the judge of what they think I know or don't know. And I just don't bother with it.
That's beautiful. So sharing this, what do you see? Because you said you also work with some coaches, right? And I know from our conversations that you have conversations with a lot of coaches who just finished their training and they're now trying to create a business, or some of them have finished the training a couple of years ago, but they never got a hang of creating clients. And it's really something that I see a lot of people get stuck with, right? If you don't have clients, it's also very difficult to practice coaching and become a better coach. And sometimes it's just simple things that people don't see, where they then look at their website for 2 years and think like if they would just have the right words on the website, they magically attract people. What do you see? Like, where do people get stuck? And what have you found useful in sharing with coaches that helps them get moving again?
It seems like the things that get us stuck are really all inside of us. Like we stick ourselves. And the great news about that is we can unstick ourselves. But when you ask coaches, they will point to, well, Deryl, it's great that you have 239 people to put on a list. I don't have that. I don't have a network like that. I don't have this or that. There's something outside of them that seems to be missing, so they can't move. Well, it would be easier for me if I had this or had that. I think one of the things that gets people stuck is they get really excited about coaching. They go out there and they tell their friends and they tell their family. Maybe they send an email like I sent. And then they come to a point, and this is the story I hear over and over and over again. Well, there's nobody else for me to talk to. And so one of the things that I see gets in the way is we have this thinking, this scarcity thinking that, well, I can't create conversation. There aren't conversations to be had. There aren't clients to be found. There are so many. I had a coach tell me a couple of weeks ago, and she lives here in the same city that I do. There are just so many coaches. Like this city is just so oversaturated with coaches. And she caught a glimpse on I didn't say anything, but she caught just a look. And she said, what, you don't think so? And I said, no, like I'm one of one. And there are a lot of people out here having coaching conversation, and that's fabulous. I love it. The world needs great coaches. And because the world needs great coaches, whether it's leadership coaching or executive coaching or fitness coaching or weight loss coaching or life coach, it doesn't, like, there's so many conversations. There's so many people who we as coaches can help and serve. They're literally everywhere we look. I just listened to a message from a client right before this call. And I think about him because I met him at a mutual friend's 40th birthday party. I created 3 conversations in that birthday party, right? Not because I was looking for clients, but just naturally through conversations. In fact, the person that I'm speaking to, the client now, was created because of a conversation I had with his fiance about parenting. I created a conversation with the caterer because I was asking what he wanted to create in the world. I just got curious about what he was up to. So there are conversations all around us. A lot of the coaches I work with who will challenge me on this, simply ask them, let's bring up your last 3 Facebook posts. I'm willing to bet there are conversations in there available to you right now that you can't see. And we'll go through the comments. I'll ask who these people are, what they're up to in the world. And really quickly, they can see how they could create conversations. I'll ask them about their email exchanges. I'll ask them about their tech. There are literally conversations with potential clients to be had everywhere. You give me 30 minutes and an internet connection, I will create 3 conversations. Right? And the beautiful thing about this business is, I heard this recently. Somebody from the outside said this about the business. I've never seen it this way. We're in a snowball business. Right? It feels like where these coaches are, where you and I have been, it takes effort and energy to start pushing the snowball down the hill. Right? To start creating these conversations, to start sharing our experiences. It feels like there's a lot of effort and energy in figuring out to do. But once we do, right, that snowball picks up steam and momentum. And the next thing we know is you find yourself in a position where you don't have to look for those conversations because now they're coming to you, right? If we're constantly getting better and stronger as coaches, and I love that you pointed people to get out there and coach. Quit reading books. There's nothing wrong with reading books. Quit watching videos. There's nothing wrong with watching videos. But get coaching. The fastest way to develop mastery, to be excellent as a coach, is to coach. Spend time with people. Right. And the more that we do that, the more excellence we create, the more mastery we create around who we're being as coaches. You go serve the hell out of a client, they're going to want to share that with somebody else. I literally just left an event where I said, hey, my name's Deryl. I was meeting a guy named Joe. And he said, wait, he talked about one of my clients. He said, she's told me about you. I didn't have to create myself. I didn't have to talk to him about a coach. We now have a conversation on the books, right? So there's a snowball effect to this business by, if we're constantly being of service, if we're being powerful in the lives of our clients, of our prospects, of everybody we meet, right? That will just pick up momentum and conversations will just start appearing seemingly out of thin air, but it's a byproduct of how we're showing up everywhere in our lives and in our businesses. So yeah, I think it's the shift from seeing or feeling like I don't have anybody to talk to. There's nobody for me to talk to about being their coach or whatever it is, to seeing that there are conversations and clients to be had everywhere.
I think that's a powerful place to end. How can people get a hold of you if they say like, hey, this Deryl guy, he doesn't come off like an expert, but he really shares valuable things for me, and I've seen something in this conversation. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm easy to find. So my name is spelled Deryl. My last name is Sweeney, Sweeny. So my website's just www.derylsweeney.com. And most of my usernames or my handles are just Deryl Sweeney. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn, find me on my website. Drop me a message. We'd love to have a conversation.
Thank you, Deryl. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And if you're interested to see more of those videos, we have a couple of the videos on the channel with some other amazing coaches. If you don't know what to watch, there's a great place to start, and there's going to be more coming soon. So stay tuned, but don't consume too much. Stay in action.